Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm not saying morning, it's afternoon. As usual, I will be given just 1 minute to allow you guys to come in, even as we start the business of the day. Hope everyone is having the better part of today. The weather in Philly is, I think today is okay. It was sunny during the weekend, but we thank God everything is down. Like I said earlier on, I will give you just a minute to allow you guys to come in. And of course, I can see a couple of familiar names on my attendees list here. You guys are welcome once again. Okay. Good afternoon and welcome once again. For those of you guys that are joining us for the first time, my name is Gagba Esahaya, and I'm a training coordinator with the Temple Small Business Development Center. The Temple Small Business Development Center helps small business start and grow. We offer free one-on-one consulting and a variety of low to no cost webinars. We are part of the nationally accredited networks of the Small Business Development Center, which has over 1,000 networks across the United States. We're here this afternoon for a webinar on what you need to know about selling online. A copy of the PowerPoint and a link to the recording will be sent to all the attendees. Being a webinar, all the attendees have been muted. However, we always encourage you guys to drop your questions on the Q&A or the chat box. Like I said, today is a good day. Without further ado, please allow me to welcome my wonderful Jenn, even as she takes over the floor for the presentation. Jenn, you're welcome.
Thank you, Garba. And hello, everyone. Welcome today. You're here because you're ready to get your business started selling online. Maybe you already have retail and you're ready to get online, or maybe you're starting a brand new business. Either way, we're going to talk about some options and platforms for you today. All right. Selling online, what you need to know. This is not me. I'm Jenn Wells. Jane is my co-founder, but I left her slide here because if you want to follow up with anyone after the presentation and you're hoping to get, just to pick someone's brain for a few minutes, Jane offers free consultations and she is our web design expert. So I'm actually putting Jane's information, but I'm Jenn Wells and we are the co-founders of BrandSwan. BrandSwan helps small businesses, nonprofits, and entrepreneurs break away from the flock through beautiful brands, savvy websites, and marketing that matters. But enough about us. Today, we are going to be talking about different e-commerce platforms and then also the difference between a platform for e-commerce versus a marketplace. We're going to talk about some of the features, how to get started comparing. There's too many to give you just one answer like, oh, this is the best one right here. But what I'm hoping to accomplish today is to get you enough information that you feel comfortable picking out your own after this is over. And then some tips for getting started once you've decided where you want to go and you're ready to get that online store up and running. So first things first, what is an e-commerce platform and what is a marketplace? So just a quick definition of these two. An e-commerce platform is typically somewhere that you can sell online. So it's a place that lets you add your products, make your product listings, and then sell directly through. There are platforms that you can go to and set up an account like Shopify, Squarespace. There's so many. And then there are some that you can set up on your own website. So if you've got a website already that's set up through like WordPress, then you could set up something like WooCommerce. So there's different platforms there. But a marketplace is something that you don't have to set up, they already exist. So think Etsy, or if you're a photographer and you're thinking about selling photos, that would be something like Shutterstock, right? Those different websites that already sell the work of lots of different people, and that will save you a lot of time, but there's some other cons that come along with that as well. So we'll go through the pros and cons of the marketplace as well as those different e-commerce platforms. Okay, starting with the platforms, because this is probably why you're here. All right, so like I said, this is a standalone website. So it's not going to Etsy, it's not going to eBay or Amazon. This is your own website selling only your things. So two options for this. You can host your own. You go set up a hosting account. You have total control over your website. There's pros and cons to this. The pros are that you have total control. This is your site. There's not going to be issues that you have to go figure out through the platform. You're the one who owns it. You can build anything you want. It gives you a lot of flexibility, but then, and I'm sorry, I'm talking about the self-hosted option right now. So you're in control. The cons are that you have to have a little more tech savvy to get started. You have to be able to set up your host. You have to be able to point your domain to your new website. And so there's some technology that you need to get comfortable with, or, you know, you can hire a company to get you started and then teach you how to maintain it on your own, which is something that, you know, we do for a lot of our customers, because even if you're able to edit a website, building it from scratch is a whole different story. So it's really up to you whether you want those extra hoops in order to have that extra flexibility and that control over your platform. Whereas if you use a different website where they're hosting it for you, so this is, you know, Shopify, sorry, my mind just went blank, Magento, BigCommerce, there's a ton of different platforms that will do this for you. You make an account with them, you build your website through them, they handle everything for you. It's really quick to get started. It's really simple and it can be easy. But say you decide you don't like the platform and you want to switch. That's too bad. Your stuff is on their platform. You own your products, you own your business, but it can be hard to get the content out. And some places will let you export and then you can import it somewhere else, but not every platform is going to offer that. So if you ever want to change, it's going to be a pain in the butt to get your content out, to recreate it over here and set it up somewhere else. So there's a little bit less control, there's less flexibility, you're stuck with the features that they have, which means that you really want to make sure that you're picking the right platform when you get started. And that's some of the things we're going to talk about with the comparison today. So this is a list of some of our favorite platforms. Well, I say favorite, some of the most common. So, you know, we're web designers. We love WooCommerce because we love building custom websites and then having control over installing that ourselves. But for a lot of people, that's a lot of extra work up front that they don't necessarily want to do. So if, you know, if that sounds overwhelming just thinking about, go ahead and skip right past that option and start looking at some of the other ones. Shopify, Squarespace, Wix, BigCommerce, Weebly, Magento, all of these are good options. They all have pros and cons. Okay, so Regina actually already answered this before I even asked. Tell me in chat what platform you're thinking about using just to get this conversation started. Regina says a trial period for Shopify in the mail, which is actually really interesting because why they would send it to you in the mail versus in your email. Oh, Wix, Shopify, Squarespace, Shopify. I will tell you, Shopify is one of my favorites. So if you're thinking about Shopify, I will not dissuade you. The good news is a lot of these platforms have a free trial or they have a free option like Wix. Wix has a free option where it's not something that you would want to use public facing because it's got like the Wix branding. You can't use your own custom domain, but for getting started, it's great because you can get a feel for the features. You can see if you like it. So, oh, and then Etsy. Everybody loves Etsy. Okay. Oh, GoDaddy. I have some thoughts about GoDaddy. I actually have those in another presentation. GoDaddy is a little bit limiting, and we actually don't even talk about them for this e-commerce topic. Okay, I'm excited to see all those Shopify answers. Okay. So Regina, as far as getting started with that free trial in the mail, hopefully the card comes with instructions. I imagine there's a website URL to visit, and that will have you create an account, and it'll give you a certain number of days to build your website, to set things up. And hopefully today will give you a better idea for where to get started with that. So I'll go ahead and keep going. And then if you have questions at the end, let me know. Tiara says Shopify seems popular. It is, and for good reason. Okay, let's start comparing some of these platforms. Okay, so this is just the overall popularity. And you can see my source here. I did not make this chart. I did not do this research, but Code NWP did. WooCommerce and other is not very helpful, is it? WooCommerce and Shopify are the most popular ones here. And so WooCommerce is that WordPress site that you're self-hosting, right? That's everybody who wants to have control of their sites. A lot of bigger companies are going to do WooCommerce because they need to own every portion of their brand in their company. So that's why WooCommerce is such a big chunk. Shopify, I think, is very good reason, the second biggest one, because I think it's fantastic for small business owners and all of those little retail, I don't want to say little, all of those retail businesses that are selling online. It's just because it was designed for commerce, that can make it a better option than Wix or Squarespace or another platform where e-commerce was kind of an afterthought. Like, oh, they had a great website builder and now they've decided they need to have products too, right? Shopify was designed with products in mind. And that's something to think about when you're picking your different options. And the ones listed here, Magento, OpenCart, BigCommerce, these are all developed for e-commerce specifically. So consider looking at those features before you go use Wix or, GoDaddy just because it was easy or it was comfortable, right? These ones are designed for this. They're probably going to be better at this. Okay, so getting started, just thinking about what you need for your products, it can be drastically different depending on what your products are. So are you going to be shipping? Is that going to be important? Are they going to be downloads, right? Maybe your product is some type of workbook or some kind of guide that they're going to download as a PDF. You would need completely different setup in order to handle those things. So just think about what your products are and what you need this website to be able to accomplish for you. You don't have to think of it from scratch because we're going to go through some of the features here. Don't feel like you have to memorize this. This chart is also available at that link that I shared, and you're getting the slides at the end. So you'll have all this information. But just some of the features to start thinking about. So cost, obviously, if this is subscription based, which most of them are, what's the monthly cost? Is that monthly cost covering all the features that I need, or do I need to pay extra as I go through this list and add things on, right? A lot of websites like to pull you in with the only $5 a month, but it doesn't have essentials like a custom domain. You don't want to have your website be wix.yourbusiness.com. You want it to be yourbusiness.com. Okay, so anyway, so going through the features, subdomain, hosting, right? Are they hosting it for you? Do you need to set up your own host? Because if you're setting up your own, that's an extra cost. Product management, obviously the ability to add your products, to edit the listings, add descriptions, add images. Is there a limit to the number of images you can add? Is there a limit to the different price points that you can set for things? Maybe there's color options, maybe there's, bulk discounts, things like that. So really it's just your business model. How complex do you need it to be, or is your product fairly simple? Managing your orders, offering different payment options, and then customer management. Once people are buying things from you, are you getting, some type of directory that you can see who your customers are? Are there options for reselling to them, for making email lists? Does it connect with a marketing platform? Themes. So this is going to be what the front end looks like. What does your website look like, and how many options are there for you to be able to design it? And this is where these websites, these e-commerce platforms are typically going to do better than the retail stores, right? So we were talking about Etsy. Etsy, I think, has pretty cute shops, but there are some other ones that we've tried out, like Redbubble or Cafe Press, and some of those shop layouts are not pretty. So just taking a look at how much you can customize what your shop looks like, how much personal information you can add. Almost all of them give you the ability to add like a banner image across the top and a photo, but they might not let you add an about section, right? To tell people about your store. And a lot of times that can be the biggest selling point, especially if you're going on somewhere like Etsy and you're looking at, 20 different cute slogan t-shirts or custom mugs or dream catchers or whatever it is that you're looking for on Etsy, right? So which shop am I going to pick? The one that feels like it either shares my values or it has a cute story or something about it. And so yes, the work can speak for itself to a certain point, but when you've got 10 great options, that's when you're like, oh, I don't know how to pick. And that about section, that customized store, that seller profile, those are the things that can sway someone who is having trouble with analysis paralysis because there's too many options. Mobile friendly. So we mentioned this because more than half of people are shopping on their phones, right? But honestly, every platform should be mobile friendly at this point. So if you're looking at one that is not, that is a huge red flag. So make sure that they say this, but don't worry too much about it because all of the main platforms are going to be mobile friendly. And then bandwidth. If you are working with someone who is doing the hosting for you, like Shopify, Wix, Magento, they are going to give you the bandwidth you need. Actually, I'm not sure that's true about Wix. well, anyway, sorry. So Magento, Shopify, those platforms that are going to host your website for you, supposedly, they give you the bandwidth you need to make all your sales. If you host yourself, you need to take a careful look at your hosting package and make sure that you're not being limited, because maybe you start off getting 10 website visits a day, but then you build up and you've got 1,000 visits now. And they're like, oh, bandwidth is not enough. Your website's no longer functioning for those people, right? So when we talk about bandwidth, it just means the ability to handle the website traffic that you're getting. And when you're starting out, it's typically not a problem. But if you are a bigger company and you know a lot of your customers are going to make the jump from in-store to online, that's something to think about. Reporting. So what kind of details do you want to know after purchases? Do you want to see popular products? Do you want to see where customers are coming from? So just checking to see what types of analytics and reports are available on the different platforms. We talked a little bit about discounts and coupon codes. Definitely something to see what the options are and make sure that you can offer those. And then some of these additional features are ways to extend the functionality of the site. So you build a little online store, it has products, and you're like, you know what? I need a way to physically get my products from my house to my customers. So that's something where maybe that's an add-on for some of these, that drop shipping. Maybe they don't come with shipping, you know, I mean, most of them aren't going to shipping integrated. Maybe you know that your customers use a particular payment method, right? They use Google Pay or Apple Pay, and that needs to be available in addition to taking regular credit cards. So just thinking about some of the extra functionality you might need, and then making sure that your platform offers it, whether they offer it directly or whether they have some type of extension or added functionality that you can add. And they all call it something different, like this BigCommerce is an extension, Wix is an app, but it means the same thing. WordPress is a plugin. It just means a way to add functionality that doesn't come with the base package. So just think about integrations and ways to add functionality that you might need for your particular business model. There's also, as if this wasn't overwhelming enough, there is also the ability to kind of combine these methods. So for BrandSwan, like I said, we're web designers. Of course, we have our own website. Of course, we use WooCommerce because we want that flexibility. We want that control. But you know what we don't want to do? We don't want to make t-shirts. We don't want to make mugs, and we don't want to ship them. So we use a service called Printify that connects with WooCommerce. So the orders are happening on our own website, you know, that we have the host for, but then it's sending it to Printify to handle the actual production and the shipping for those products. So that's an example of how it doesn't have to be either or, it can be combined. But that being said, this is, you know, something that was more technical and it took us a while to set up. So unless, you know, you have a particular desire to have that level of customization, or if you're pretty tech savvy, then that might be something to look into. Printify has a great user interface. I'll just say that they make it really easy to add patterns, designs, update our products. We can choose what to add to our website or what to stay on Printify. It's been a really good system. So just a quick screenshot of what Printify looks like so you can kind of see what we're talking about here. And like I said, this is something that you can take a look at later with the slides. But yeah, it's a really clean interface. It's really easy to update. It's really easy to edit the products. And then I'm actually going to show you our website real quick so you can see what that looks like from the customer's point of view. So this is not anything super fancy because our store is not big enough to need, you know, filters and search and all of that. We just have a handful of products. It's not about making money for us. It's about promoting the brand. And, you know, a lot of these we buy ourselves to share with our clients. So it's a fun thing that we have. Anyway, so you can see it's product listing. The fact that it's WooCommerce but Printify combined, you would never know from the front end. It's really more about the convenience of making products for us and then having them go out automatically. All right. So now that we've given you, I keep saying we, now that I've given you the overview, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the pros and cons of these different platforms. All right, so, and actually Jennifer has a good question. Does any other platform combine in-person and e-commerce sales besides Magento? And I will be honest, I do not know. I can't give you a list of the ins and outs, but I would be very surprised if they didn't, because with the different payment portals, you know, and this might be something where, oh, yes, if you connect it with Square, right? And then you can have the Square reader in store, or they can go to your website online. So I think that's going to depend on the payment processing system that you use. So I'd be very surprised if they didn't offer it. Sorry, I don't have like a definitive answer for that, but very good question and definitely a feature to take a look at. Okay, so getting into the pros and cons for individual platforms, starting with Shopify. So I don't know if this $29 a month price tag sounds to you guys, but I think it's relatively inexpensive. It's fully hosted, so you're not worrying about setting up hosting. You can just buy your domain through them. They will let you set up your website. You just basically walk through the, you know, next to build your site. Super easy to use, super user-friendly. They have a really good selection of themes and designs to use, and the websites that they have are very clean. So I know I've seen some themes or templates from some other builders like Squarespace, and they just look outdated, like they haven't kept up with the times that well. Whereas Shopify, everything's beautiful, and you just have to make sure that as you use that theme, you don't, you know, mess up the settings too much. Okay, so we talked about the cost. They integrate with tons of other systems, which is great. There is a community that you can get support from, and they also have really good tech support. So Shopify is one of the only ones that I've seen where they actually have chat support and email support, and you have different ways to get someone to help you. If you look at, you know, like Wix and Squarespace, you are just Googling and hoping that someone has had the same problem and it's been solved. And like Wix technically has support, but it's only available to you if you're on the higher level packages, if you're paying a lot of money per month. So if you have a, you know, a free version, or if you have one of the lower level packages, you're not going to be getting that support. Okay, and then multi-channel retailing. So exactly what Jen was talking about. Okay, online, offline, social media, different ways to sell. So Shopify, yes, that one would be great for what you were just asking about. Okay, so we did the good. Here's the bad. Additional transaction fees for using different payment methods. And I'm sorry, I'd have to go look, but the full review, we have the links here. So if you want to see exactly which ones those are, you could check out the full review, but just know that, you know, if you're adding more payment options, they might be charging you an extra fee for that. There is a free trial for Shopify, which, you know, I think it was Regina got it in the mail. That's great. I don't think you need to get it in the mail. I think you can just go to shopify.com and start your free trial there. Although that's a clever way to make you think you're getting something special. But anyway, so with that free trial, you can test it out, you can see what you're getting into, and you don't have to commit. So, and it says no free plan available as a con. I don't know if I agree with that, because the free plans are usually not actually usable as a real store because they're so limiting. So I think a free trial is better than a free plan, I'll be honest. Let's see. So the theme customization is somewhat limited, right? And this is going to be true with anybody that is doing the hosting for you. You kind of take what you can get with them. Transaction fees, that's probably going to be true with most of them. You have to do some extra integrations to get that B2B going. And then this says you might have to wait for a longer time to get a response for tech support. I tried tech support and it was pretty quick. So I'll just say my business partner and I worked together on this presentation, and I don't agree with all of her cons. Okay, we have questions already. Does Shopify offer drop shipping? I am pretty sure this is one where we talked about adding functionality. I think this is something that you can add on, but I would have to go to the full review to see for sure. So my best answer to a lot of the very specific capabilities is take a look at the features lists, because they're going to be more comprehensive than anything I can provide in this hour that we have together. Okay, my business offers more than one service, such as consultant. I will offer clothing products to sell. Oh, okay, so some things are consulting and some things are products. Just for the clothing line. Okay. Oh, and B2B is business to business. Okay, so that is a really interesting question, Regina. And so I think it depends, because you could definitely keep Wix for, like, if you already have a website set up and it is more difficult to move everything over, you could do a couple different things. You could say, hey, I'll take a stab at doing the products on Wix because they do offer it. So why not, try if you're already there and it's not too expensive. Or if you really like the features of something like Shopify, maybe it is worth doing it just for the e-commerce. You're probably not going to love this answer, but honestly, we love trying things out. Like, before we pick a platform for anything, we will do all the free trials. So like for CRMs, customer relationship management software, we set up a free trial with 17 Hats, Dipsado, Honeybook, and we just see which one feels like the best fit for our business. So in your case, like, you are already set up on Wix. So I would say it's worth giving it a stab just to keep everything in the same place. But that free trial could be really helpful too, to see, how much more you could be getting out of it. All right, so Squarespace. Okay, Squarespace pros. And I mentioned this was not a directly WooCommerce. So, or not WooCommerce, sorry, e-commerce. So it's a great website builder. They do have some beautiful designs. You have to make sure that you're on the most recent version of it so that you're getting the newer templates, because there's some older ones that are a little bit dated. But this is one where you look at the price and you're like, oh, it looks really great, but like the base price doesn't include e-commerce, so make sure you're getting the right package. They do have some really cool integrations with like email lists and marketing and your social media networks. So there's a lot of good things about Squarespace, and it's very easy to get started. Like, I've worked on a handful of Squarespace websites, and no prior training or whatever, I was able to get right in there and start helping people make changes to their site. So very easy to get started. And then they offer a pretty comprehensive set of features. So we're talking search engine optimization, social media, some ways to manage your customers, and blogging. Although I'll be honest, I don't love the blogging interface either. Okay, so the negative. So the point of sale, right? That's something that you have to add on that may cost more money. The focus isn't e-commerce, so they're not going to be as comprehensive as some of the other options, because they're really developed more to be website builders, and blogging. They don't have as many multi-channel selling options. So we're talking about in-person, online, social media. And then it says no phone support. There's no support at all. You are going to be Googling stuff and just hoping. So that's definitely a big negative, especially if you're not super tech savvy and you don't feel comfortable troubleshooting things on your own. All right, so Wix, talking about that consulting / e-commerce combination. So Wix has a ton of features, an absolute ton. I'll start with the negative instead of the other way around. Having used it, I had some issues. Like I said, tech support is difficult to get unless you're on that higher level package. And I think part of the problem is that the person I was trying to help with Wix didn't want to pay for a higher level package. So they're on the cheapest thing. They're not getting a ton of bandwidth on their site. And changes weren't loading on the front end, right? So lots of tech issues. That may not be a problem for you if you're paying for a package that has more features included. And I think you are going to be paying a little bit more if you're getting the e-commerce package. So I don't want that to be like a hard stop for anyone. That's just the experience that I had. And that's why it might be worth trying out the free option or a free trial just to see how it is before you get all the way into it. Anyway, so going into the pros. So they do the hosting. You're not worrying about maintaining your site. You're not worrying about setting anything up. It is very easy to get started. Even the upgraded plans, they have a lot of tiers. So you don't have to spend a ton of money until you're absolutely sure that you need those extra features. They have multiple payment methods, and they're not taking a cut, which is great. And then like I said, they integrate with so much stuff. So we're talking about pins on Pinterest, right? Pinterest has some cool shopping tools right now. Facebook Marketplace, Facebook Messenger. Okay, and then getting into the negatives, I feel like we kind of talked about this already. So the point of sale features are something that's extra. It's gonna be a higher level package. Design options, there's a ton. There might almost be too many, believe it or not. That being said, this is another one where you're picking a theme and then technically you can customize it, but it's so difficult to do it that it's better off to just pick as close to the final result as you want so that you don't have to edit as much, because there are some limitations with changing up the themes. And then again, with the business to business. So they're focusing on selling to individuals, not selling to other businesses. I don't know that any of these platforms is really about like the bigger retail orders. But anyway, it's worth mentioning because it's in the review. And if you are like a wholesaler, you know, versus a retailer, that's something to think about. You might actually need to look for platforms that are more specific to that particular audience. They also offer you to create an app for free. Wix offers to create you an app for free. That, okay, I would have to dig way into that. An app version of your website. I actually don't know about that. I'd be surprised just because app development is so expensive. If the app is basically a version of your website, like the mobile version of your website in an app, I could maybe see that, but apps are really expensive to develop. Okay, I'm gonna stay on the slides, but Regina, if you want to clarify, feel free because that's new information to me. Okay, WooCommerce. I found myself wanting to talk about the negatives first and then the positives, so I might just do that. Okay, so the negatives for WooCommerce. We talked about the extra setup, the fact that you have to maintain it on your own, so you're making the updates, you're responsible for maintenance. You need to have some tech savvy to get started, right? Or you're gonna have to be good at Googling so you can get that research. And then while WooCommerce is free and WordPress, setting up WordPress on your own host is free, there's a lot of other things that cost money. So basically you're getting a great foundation for what you need. And then each additional piece of functionality is probably going to cost money. So for example, with WooCommerce, it's free. Okay, I can make products and get started, but what I really need after the product is delivered is for it to connect to my MailChimp and then to send, you know, start a workflow of emails that go out, right? Especially if you're service-based and you're delivering your products that way. And that's something that costs extra money. Adding coupons can cost extra money. So things that you might just assume are included may not be. And that's something that you need to check. Like, what are the features that I need? Are they going to be included with just WooCommerce Basic, or am I going to need to buy a bunch of extra plugins? And same thing with WordPress, right? So WordPress is free. The hosting is not free. The domain is never free. That you'd have to pay for on any platform, although some will kind of cover that cost in your month-to-month fee, so you don't see it. And so just as kind of a general price guideline, domains are usually $12 to $15 a year. Paying for your own hosting, you can get it really inexpensively, like $5 a month with GoDaddy. But after the first year or so, the price will go up to 8, 10, sometimes more. The host that we prefer, SiteGround, that is closer to $15 a month. That includes things like SSL, privacy. It's just, they're not nickel and diming you for each thing that you add. So I'd rather pay a little bit more and know that I'm getting really good service for that. And it's not a sneaky hidden fee. It's not like, oh, it's $5, but really it's $15 3 years down the road, right? Like it's always $15 per month. So that's why we like SiteGround. Okay, anyway, enough about extra costs. Getting back into the pros. So the good things about WooCommerce, so many integrations, so much customization. You can do anything you can imagine if you are willing to pay the fees for it. So it's very hard to quote this out because it changes so much based on what you add to it. If you already have a WordPress site that you built or someone built for you, then you're probably going to want to use WooCommerce because, hey, it's right there, you can add it. And then, and then again, there's no tech support for this because it's a free platform, right? But WordPress and WooCommerce both has a massive community of developers and experts and people who are willing to answer you their questions. So it's like once you have used this on your own website, you're kind of entering the secret society of people who are willing to help you without charging you for it, which is amazing. So someone will have had your issue before. You'll be able to find that question thread and find support. And there's also people willing to answer your questions if you submit them. That being said, if you're someone who wants that tech support person working with you through a problem, this might not be the way to go. All right, so we talked about hosting yourself. I mentioned SiteGround. SiteGround, like I said, they don't nickel and dime you. A lot of things are included. Any of these are great options. So I know everyone's heard of GoDaddy and they want to use GoDaddy. It's not our favorite because they're the prime example of, hey, we don't include this. Hey, we don't include that. What? You don't want your information published in association with your website so that you get lots of spam? Well, that costs extra. So I don't love GoDaddy. We've also had problems where people get that super cheap $5 a month package, but then they have too much traffic on their website. So they have to upgrade, right? So the cheapest level is not always what you need if your website is getting a little more traffic, or maybe you have a lot of content on your website, you have a lot of images, you know, things need to be able to load more quickly. You would need bandwidth for that too. So there are reasons not to go with the cheapest option. Just giving you some more examples of what these types of platforms look like from the front end. So first thing we've got here is a Shopify website. And so I think probably what you're gonna think after seeing all of these is, wow, I can't tell the difference. Because I know I didn't immediately look at this and say, oh yeah, that's clearly a Shopify website. But anyway, so this is Partake. This is an example of Shopify. You can see they've got filters. They've got the bestseller tag, which is pretty cool. You can add it to your cart easily. And shopping cart is right up here along with search. Or you can click on things to find more information. Oops. Well, now it's in my cart. I guess I'm buying cookies. Yeah, and this whole experience is very slick. I can tell you it's better than what we have on our website. But anyway, so subscribe and save. Very cool, right? This is a way to get people to continue buying things and not just once. The different size options. This is just very professional. Everything about it is good. All right. Oh, and then I guess we can take a look at the cart too. Well, it just pops up on the side, which is not a bad thing because now it doesn't take me away from what I was browsing. So if I want to go back to the product, it's still there. All right, so that's Shopify. Going back to my list, Squarespace. This is an example of a Squarespace e-commerce website. I feel like Squarespace websites always have a certain look to them. They all have this big, and maybe this is the older theme. You can probably do new things with some of the newer themes, but they have this big header image, right? And they have the text all whited out on the top. You'll notice the menu doesn't follow me when I come down. It doesn't have the my cart. It does have some filter with the categories, but it's just a sidebar. It's not anything fancy. And then when I click on this, you know, this is just a standard sidebar that appears on everything. It's not that customized. I do have some, oops. All right, I am just clicking all over the place today. It's got some of the options, which is nice, but you can just see this interface is not as pretty. It's not as smooth. It's definitely not as modern looking. So again, this was an example of Squarespace. All right, just making sure I'm going in order. Wix. All right, so for you people with Wix websites already, good news, it looks better than Squarespace. All right, so we've got the products, we've got this quick view option, which I think is fantastic. I don't know about everybody else, but when I'm shopping, a lot of times I will add a bunch of things to my cart, and then I'll go back and look at my cart and decide which ones I want to keep. So not having to open everything in a new tab or not having to open things and go back is really, really helpful. So I think that pop-up is fantastic. You know, or like a quick add button, something like that. They've got the filters over here, a way to sort by price, which is pretty cool. So different filtering options, which I think it just depends how many products you have, if that's going to be necessary. And then once I add this, it shows me my cart over here. It lets me keep shopping. It doesn't take me away. Let's go ahead and get rid of some of these so we can see. And then I had to click a couple times to get to my cart, but that was pretty cool, the way that just slid out. And then once you're in the cart, it's here. So not quite as fancy as Shopify, but I mean, this is a pretty good experience. I wouldn't look at this and say, oh, this is unprofessional. So yeah, Wix, if you already have a Wix website, absolutely give this a try. Again, if you don't have a website yet, try out a few different free trials. All right, and then the last one we have, WooCommerce. So a lot of bigger retailers use WooCommerce because they need more. They need the extra flexibility. They need to add things that other people don't have. And so you can see, you know, these previews here that like hover over to see a different image. They've got the badges. They've got different information here than what might be automatically available on something like Wix. You know, like with Wix or with Squarespace, the product, oh, I can't get out of here. That's not a good sign. I'm happy to say that we did not design these. These are just examples. But anyway, so, you know, the product preview is what it is. And so you might not have as much customization over that, whereas you can add whatever information you want with WooCommerce. This different checkbox by range. We'll see. It doesn't have the quick view, which is too bad. But I mean, you could, right? And that's the thing is, don't imagine that your product listings will look just like this, because with WooCommerce, you can do pretty much anything you can imagine. So multiple product images, all these different payment options, crazy number of payment options. They've got the tabbed pieces of information, which is cool. And then we'll take a look at the cart. Checkout. That is a whole lot of information. I haven't even heard of some of these payment options. Zip it now, pay later. That sounds like a good way to get hit with a lot of fees. Don't know what it is. Don't need to start using it. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of idea of just what's possible with the different options. At the end of the day, what's really going to matter is the back end for you more so than what's on the front end. As long as it's easy to use and there's not anything stopping someone from making a purchase, then this side of it will be okay. So you're going to want to, you know, take a look, see what your options are, see what you're capable of doing, see how extensive, you know, your products are and what you need. Because if you have 3 products, your needs are completely different than if you have 300 products. So just think about the different types of categorization, filtering, ways to take pricing. If it needs to connect with things in person, just like I said at the beginning, make the list of your needs, kind of like house hunting. What are your must-haves? What are your deal breakers? And then start looking at the platform features and see what fits. Once you've narrowed it down to just a couple, that's when you do the free trial and you see how it feels to actually use it. Because just because it says technically it has your feature doesn't mean that it's fun or easy to use the platform. Oh, someone weighed in on Zip. Okay. Okay, Kelly, question for you. So Zip says, zip it now, pay later. How much are they charging you to defer the payments? That's what I want to know, because I'm skeptical anytime someone says pay later, I'm like, okay, what do I have to pay you in order to pay later? Okay, and then someone else, Andrew said, does your business go through evaluations of websites? We do. We have website audits. And if you're interested in that, absolutely reach out. You can go to our website and you can you know, submit a message or schedule with us, or just use the link in this slide to schedule time with Jane, and she'll give you information, just like a quick view of your website, some thoughts. And then if you want to do a website audit, a full audit, that would be several hours of our time going through your website, going through your social, making sure everything makes sense. You know, depending on your brand, we might even have some thoughts on that. And then it includes up to 5 hours of working to implement the changes that we've made. So that's what a website audit looks like for us. Sometimes our changes are based on the usability. Sometimes they're based on the content, like, hey, the website works great, but the content's not compelling and it's not bringing people through the site. So just depending on what you have, those suggestions might vary a lot. And yeah, and we'd absolutely love to do that for you. So please reach out if you're interested. Okay, enough of my self-promotion. We've been taking questions throughout, so I'm not going to pause too long here. I'm going to get a drink of water though. Okay, so we have been talking about e-commerce platforms. Oh, what do you charge for the website audit? I am afraid to quote because I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly. If you email me, and again, information is in the slide, but I'll go ahead and drop my email in the chat too. And it's just Jenn, Jenn at brandswan.design. Okay. If you email me, I will get you an actual quote. I don't want to guess right now, but it is over $1,000. It might be 1,200. So just keep that in mind as far as range. If you're still interested and you want an exact quote, go ahead and email me and I will answer that question. Okay. So e-commerce marketplaces. So going back to that discussion of Etsy, eBay, different places to sell your stuff. So many, so many. And this is one where your industry is very important because yes, you could get on eBay, but eBay is huge. You're competing with so many people. So trying to be found on a marketplace like that is going to be really difficult. So think about trying to find things that are specific to your industry. And most of these are pretty big ones, right? So some of the different platforms for information, for different retail services, even for services, if you're renting out rooms in your house, what should be on here. There's car sharing services, which are different from Uber. But anyway, so just an idea of some different platforms for different places to get things. Now, depending on your industry, there might be something specific to that. So this isn't e-commerce specifically, but some of the websites that we would get on as a web design company would be like Clutch is a directory of web designers. And then there's things like 99 Designs, which is a place to put your services out there and to bid on jobs. So just Googling your industry, right? And so maybe that's, I'm trying to think, maybe you make really cute stuffed animals or something. So there's probably a handful of different keywords to use for that, but handmade stuffed animal marketplace. My kids call them stuffies, stuffy marketplace, custom made dolls, custom made toys, things like that. And just searching a few different things and seeing what comes up. And any website that's coming up on the homepage, if it's a directory or if it's a marketplace, not a bad bet for putting your stuff on there because they've got good SEO. They're showing up on the homepage, right? That being said, you want to check the features. You want to see, how many people are on there, because if it's as big as eBay, then you're going to be just drowned in the flood of people trying to sell their stuff on there. That being said, being big can be a good thing too, because a lot of people are using eBay. So, oh, Craigslist. We didn't add Craigslist on here, but we should have thought about that. Okay, so people can search for you. It's a great place to get discovered. You don't have to be exclusive to one marketplace or another. So it's okay to put your stuff on multiple ones as long as you're tracking inventory and making sure that you're taking things down once they're sold. Talking a little bit more into the pros and cons. So getting started, very easy. You're not worrying about building a whole website. You're literally just making, your shop profile, like Etsy, that's the little banner, that's the little icon or logo or whatever it is, and then adding your products. You're getting right to it. They handle a lot of the complicated details like the payment processing. You don't have to worry about that. Making sure that the customer information is being carefully stored, not carefully stored, is secure so that no one can hack it, right? All of that is their headache. You don't have to worry about that. You also don't have to you can still market yourself, but they're bringing customers in. So if you're starting from scratch and you don't have a customer base yet, that can be helpful because there's people just browsing Etsy for cool things, right? And I know Etsy's not the only one, but it's the one I use the most often. So there's people on Etsy just for fun, right? Just scrolling through looking for stuff. So that's a customer you might get that you wouldn't have gotten on your own because they wouldn't have found your website off by itself. So that's definitely a benefit to using a marketplace, is that greater exposure to people, but that greater exposure comes with the greater competition as well. Having something industry specific is great because now not only are you getting fresh eyes on your products, you're getting fresh eyes that are actually looking for that specific type of product. So when we talk about leads, that's what we would call a qualified lead. It's not just someone who said, oh, hey, give me a price. It's someone who's already interested in what you're doing and probably has a general idea of pricing and won't be shocked by your numbers. Sometimes we actually recommend that people just use these and don't worry about building a website. Like we had someone who asked about selling his own photos, which if you're a photographer, that's amazing. And I would love for you to be able to do that. But realistically, it's going to be very hard to compete with something like Shutterstock or Deposit Photo because people can go buy photos for $5 or $10. So, you know, or they can, for $30 a month, they can have 100 downloads, right? It's going to be very hard to compete with that. So sometimes it makes more sense to do that. That being said, some of the negatives, they are taking a big chunk of the profit. They're not just doing this out of the kindness of their heart, right? They're going to make a lot of money off of your products and services. We talked about the limited store options. Yes, you can have that banner, but like, you know, the Redbubble Cafe Press experience, our store was not pretty. And I probably shouldn't malign Redbubble here because I can't remember exactly which one it was that wasn't nice looking, but there were a couple that were so bad that I was like, I can't use this platform, even if the product listing itself is beautiful, because our store looks so bad. Okay, so less customization. And then say someone wants to, maybe you offer customized drawings, maybe like calligraphy or something like that. You're doing wedding invites and you need to customize them. So they're not going to be able to just order that through the shop. You're going to have to send emails back and forth after they make the purchase. And I know this isn't always true because I have definitely customized things through Etsy and they just had the message box that I could send things through. But I think just depending how complex the customization is, this might not be the best option. So it just depends. Whereas, you know, say you got something very heavily customized, going back to the, I don't know, wedding stationery set or something like that. And they're picking a lot of different options and they're changing the wording or the calligraphy style. I don't know. So with WooCommerce, that could be a workflow, right? So they place the order and that automatically sends them a form to collect more information. Or it sets up a call. Maybe this is something like for an artist, right? Somebody wants portraits and you need to actually talk to them to get a feel for what they're looking to do. Maybe that's the next step in your flow. So, okay, they put down the deposit for your service and now they're booking a call with you. And honestly, that might not even be an e-commerce platform. That might be something else entirely, like a CRM. But it just depends how complex your process is, how much of it is this payment retail portion, and how much of it is other information that you need afterwards. Okay, I need to hurry up because we have 8 minutes left. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. If you're just getting started, using a marketplace can be a really great way to kind of feel it out to see if there is demand for your product. But if you do well, you're probably at some point going to want more control and a bigger cut of the profits. So even if you start with a marketplace, plan for expansion at some point down the road. Okay, and then I have some other slides that I'm going to go ahead and skip because we're running out of time. All right, so getting started. Okay, you have all this information. What do you do with it? I talked about free trials. It is okay to make a ton of test accounts as long as you're not giving them all your credit card information. We do this all the time to make sure that we're getting the right option for us. So here's kind of like the little flow, but I'm going to walk you through step by step. Research. You're here, you're already doing this step. That is fantastic. So getting information, finding out who your competitors are can be really helpful, especially if you can find out what platforms they are on. Is your idea viable? And this is where the marketplace versus building your own website might be a good option because the marketplace can tell you that, oh yes, people are buying from me in the marketplace. Great. That means there's a demand. That means it could be worth the extra investment to build your own site. Talking to some of your customers or would-be customers. Maybe you're doing it for free and you're ready to start charging money, right? So talk to the people that are getting it for free and ask them, hey, if I charge this much for it, would you expect the experience to be different? You know, like what are the things that you would expect? And that can be something as simple as making sure the receipt goes out in an email. Maybe it's a follow-up email to ask how they like the product, things like that, those extra touch points that make customer service from just standard to something kind of exceptional. And especially for things that are kind of a combination product and service, that can get really tricky, and making sure that you really set expectations and then follow through with them to provide that service. Okay, so once you have done your research, planning, making that list of features, what do you need? What's the best fit for your business? Obviously, as a branding company, we're going to talk about building your brand. So if you don't know what your unique value proposition is, it's going to be hard for you to convince people to buy from you. So what makes you different? What makes you special? Why do people want to buy from you and not someone else? And a lot of people want to say, oh, my product is truly unique, right? Well, you better be ready to prove that, because there are millions and millions of people in this world, and a lot of them are doing things very similar to what you're doing. So make sure that you have done enough research to know if your product is actually unique, because we had someone try to tell us that their furniture rental business, there was no competition. I Googled it. I Googled it and I found 3 other businesses in Delaware doing that. So make sure you're being realistic about your competition. It's okay to have competitors. It's okay to have an idea that's not totally unique, but you need to know why yours is special. And then make sure that you know who your audience is, why they want to work with you, how you're solving their problems. Be ready to speak to them in their language. And yes, Tiara says our niche. Yes, finding your niche. Okay, come up with a good domain name. So whatever platform you're going to use, you're going to need this domain. Some of them you can buy it directly with them. Sometimes you buy it on your own first. Either way is fine. It can be hard to get short domain names because there's so many businesses already who have bought similar things. Like we have a client whose shop name is Pandora's Box Boutique. Awesome name, super cute, love the imagery, but Pandora's Box Boutique is, it's not unique. A lot of other people have that name. And so fighting for that URL, very difficult. Sometimes it's as simple as putting the abbreviation of your state at the end, right? Like I've seen business name de.com. Done. Now it's your business in Delaware versus like the 20 other businesses with a similar name in the US. So anyway, .com, people are always going to default to. So if you get a .biz or a .net, there will be mistakes. People will not make it to your website because they'll type the wrong thing. Believe me, I know. We are a .design, and we ended up buying the .com, even though it costed, God, what was it, $10,000? Because so many people were typing .com instead of .design. So think about that before you buy anything too creative, or be prepared to buy both. All right, so now you're picking out the shopping experience. Hopefully you've made your list of features, you're ready to go. This is when you start deciding what you're going to do. Are you using that marketplace? Are you using that e-commerce platform? Once you've got your store set up, and I know you're probably like, what? How do I get it set up? You missed a step. You're going to have to do that on your own. But anyway, so once you've picked your platform, you've worked through how to build, how to add your products, this is when you need to get those final touches, right? So how is the shipping going to work? How am I going to charge for shipping? Is it a flat rate? Is it going to change based on weight? Depending which platform you have, there will be different options available for this. Think about this before you pick a platform, right? Shipping can be immensely complicated, or you can just charge enough for shipping that it's going to cover it no matter which product they buy. Up to you. Do you need me to stop talking, Garba?
No, you continue.
Okay, I'm almost done, I swear. Okay. Okay, once you have it set up, so fine tune the experience, making sure that you're meeting people's expectations, right? So making sure that you've talked to some of your customers, you know what they're expecting, and then maybe even it's worth giving some people a discount, like, hey, I will give you 50% off to user test my store for me. So now they get a great deal, and they have to give you feedback at the end to tell you, oh, well, this was kind of wonky, or I got stuck on this page and I couldn't go back. And now you can fix it and you can make it a better experience for them. Marketing, there's other presentations all about this, so I won't talk too much about this. Once your store is there, you need to get the word out. And then starting to experiment with more tools and add-ons if you're finding that you need things later on. This is really about iterating. Okay, this thing works, now I want to make it better. Don't be afraid to keep changing up your store until it's right. And this could be years down the road as you get more experienced and you have more cash flow to add things on. Okay, here's a list of plugins that you can consider adding. And here's the list of resources that you're going to get in your email after this presentation. Okay, whew, done.
Um, Thank you for a wonderful presentation. Before we wrap it up, I just want to draw the attention of our attendees. I did posted a 30-second survey about today's webinar. I was to post it again for the second time. Remember we at Temple SPDC, we always cherish your feedbacks, even as it helps us to improve on the services we provide to you guys at a low cost. So kindly take 30 seconds of your time to help us to fill out the survey. Um, to conclude everything, I just want to use this opportunity to thank my wonderful presenter for a wonderful presentation. If you guys remember from the onset, I did say she is great. And of course, I'm sure each and every one of you guys can attest to that. Also to my wonderful Temple fellow colleagues for their usual cooperation and encouragement. Without them, we wouldn't have been here, and this webinar wouldn't have come into existence. Thank you guys for your time and do enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.